You ever notice how there are certain things a man can say that just stop a woman in her tracks? I'm not talking about insults or cheap shots. I mean those rare, honest words that cut through all the noise, all the drama, all the games. The kind of words that make her pause, rethink, maybe even get a little scared. Not of you, but of losing the control she thought she had. Every woman, whether she admits it or not, dreads hearing these words from a man. And most men, they never say them. They're too busy trying to keep the peace, too worried about rocking the boat, too afraid of what might happen if they finally speak up. Let's be real. Most guys spend their whole lives trying to avoid conflict. They think if they just agree, just apologize, just do whatever she wants, everything will be fine. But here's the truth. The more you avoid saying what needs to be said, the more you lose yourself. And the more you lose yourself, the less she respects you. It's a slow, silent death of attraction. You don't even notice it at first. You just wake up one day and realize you're not the man you used to be. You're just a background character in your own life. It starts small. Maybe you stop hanging out with your friends as much. Maybe you start saying yes to things you don't want to do. Maybe you apologize for things that aren't even your fault, just to keep her happy. And every time you do it, you shrink a little bit more. You think you're being a good boyfriend, a good husband, but what you're really doing is teaching her that you'll do anything to avoid upsetting her. You're teaching her that your needs, your opinions, your boundaries don't matter. And here's the wild part. She hates it. She might not say it out loud, but deep down, she starts to lose respect for you. She starts to test you more. She starts to push your buttons, just to see if you'll ever push back. And when you don't, when you just keep folding, she gets bored. She gets restless. She starts to wonder if she could do better. And you're left wondering what happened to the spark. What happened to the passion? What happened to the woman who used to look at you like you were the only man in the world? So why do these words matter so much? Why do they have so much power? It's not because women are fragile. It's not because they can't handle honesty. It's because deep down, every woman wants to know she's with a man who can't be controlled, a man who isn't afraid to speak his mind, even if it means risking the relationship. That's the paradox nobody talks about. The more you try to keep her by playing it safe, the more you push her away. The more you risk losing her by being real, the more she wants to stay. Let's talk about the first phrase every woman fears. You're not special. Not in a cruel way, not as an attack, but as a simple, honest observation. You say it calmly, almost like you're talking about the weather. You know, when we first met, I thought you were different. But honestly, you're just like every other woman I've known. Same insecurities, same games, same drama. You watch her face. You see the shock, the disbelief, maybe even a little anger, because every woman wants to believe she's the exception. She's not like the others. She's unique. And when you take that away, when you show her she's just another player in the same old game, it forces her to confront the reality she's been avoiding. But here's the thing. You can't use this as a weapon. You can't just throw it out there to hurt her. It only works if it's true. If you've really reached that point where you see through the games, where you're done pretending, where you're ready to walk away if things don't change. Because if you're bluffing, she'll know. And then you're right back where you started. Weak, predictable, forgettable. The second phrase that shakes her world. If you want to leave, go ahead. Not as a threat, not as a dare, but as a statement of fact. You're not begging her to stay. You're not promising to change. You're just letting her know that you'll be fine, with or without her. And that's terrifying for her, Because most women are used to men who will do anything to keep them. The moment you show her you're not afraid to lose her, the entire dynamic shifts. Suddenly, she's the one who has something to lose. Suddenly, she's the one who's not sure where she stands. And here's the third phrase, the one that hits her where it hurts most. Our sex life is just average. Again, you don't say it to be cruel. You say it as a simple, honest observation. Honestly, the physical part of our relationship has always been just okay. I've had more passionate connections before. You don't linger on it. You don't make a big deal out of it. You just say it and move on. And you watch as she goes quiet, processing what you just said, because every woman wants to believe she's unforgettable in bed. She wants to believe she's the best you've ever had. When you take that away, when you show her she's not irreplaceable, it shakes her to her core. But here's what most men get wrong. They think these are attacks. They're not. They're boundaries. They're the truth. They're the lines you draw in the sand that say, this is who I am. This is what I will and won't accept. Take it or leave it. And the moment you start living by those boundaries, everything changes. She might push back. She might test you. She might even threaten to leave. But deep down, she's hoping you won't fold. She's hoping you'll stand your ground. Because that's the only way she can ever really respect you. Let's talk about what actually happens when you finally say these words. Most men imagine some kind of disaster. They picture her storming out, slamming the door, blocking their number, telling all her friends what a monster he is. But the reality? It's almost never that dramatic. What really happens is a lot more subtle and a lot more powerful. First, there's that stunned silence. She's not used to it. She's used to you apologizing, explaining, trying to fix things. She's used to being the one with the upper hand, the one who can push and prod and get a reaction. But now, you're not reacting. You're not chasing. You're not even angry. You're just done. And that's when she realizes the game has changed. You see, most women don't actually want a man they can control. They might think they do. They might act like they do. But deep down, they want to feel like they're with someone who can't be pushed around. Someone who has his own standards, his own backbone, his own life. When you finally show her that you're not afraid to lose her, you become that man. You become the guy she can respect, even if she's furious in the moment. I've seen it happen over and over. A guy spends years trying to keep his girlfriend happy, always giving in, always saying yes, always putting her first. And what does he get? More drama, more tests, more disrespect. But the moment he finally stands up for himself, the moment he finally says, enough, everything shifts. She might get angry. She might cry. She might even threaten to leave. But underneath all that, there's a new energy. There's a new respect. There's a new attraction that wasn't there before. It's not about being mean. It's not about being cold. It's about being real. It's about finally telling the truth, even if it's uncomfortable. Because the truth is, most relationships die not from too much honesty, but from too little. They die from all the things left unsaid, all the boundaries never set, all the resentment that builds up over time. When you finally break that pattern, when you finally say what needs to be said, you give the relationship a chance to actually be real. Let's get into another phrase that flips the script. I don't need you to be happy. This one is brutal, but it's also the most freeing thing you can ever say to her and to yourself. Because the moment you make someone else responsible for your happiness, you've already lost. You've handed over all your power, all your confidence, all your self-worth. And no woman, no matter how much she loves you, wants that responsibility. She wants to be with a man who's already happy, already fulfilled, already living his life, not a man who's waiting for her to give him permission to be himself. So when you say, I don't need you to be happy, you're not pushing her away. You're inviting her to join you. You're saying, I'm good either way. I'd love for you to be part of my life, but I'm not going to fall apart if you're not. And that's the most attractive thing you can ever communicate, because it means you're whole. It means you're not looking for someone to complete you. It means you're not afraid to be alone. And here's the wild part. The less you need her, the more she wants you. It's backwards, but it's true. The more you chase, the more she runs. The more you stand still, the more she comes to you. It's not a game. It's just human nature. We all want what we can't have. We all value what's hard to get. And when you become the man who's not afraid to walk away, you become the man she can't walk away from. But let's be honest, this isn't easy. It takes guts. It takes self-respect. It takes a willingness to lose her if it means keeping yourself. And most guys just aren't ready for that. They'd rather keep the peace, even if it means losing their soul. They'd rather be needed than respected. They'd rather be comfortable than powerful. But if you're still listening, if you're still here, you're not most guys. You're ready to hear the truth. You're ready to say the words she fears. You're ready to become the man you were always meant to be. Now, let's talk about what happens after you say these words. At first, she might test you even harder. She might try to guilt you, shame you, make you feel like you're the bad guy. She might bring up every mistake you've ever made, every time you let her down, every time you weren't perfect. This is her way of seeing if you really mean it. She wants to know if you're serious or if you're just bluffing. This is where most men fail. They cave. They apologize. They go right back to their old habits. And just like that, all the respect, all the attraction, all the power they just gained, gone. But if you hold your ground, if you stay calm, if you refuse to be manipulated, something amazing happens. She stops fighting. She stops testing. She starts to see you in a new light. She starts to respect you again. She starts to feel safe with you, maybe for the first time in a long time. Because here's the truth. Women don't want to be in control. They want to feel safe. They want to know that if they lose their mind, you'll keep yours. They want to know that if they push every button you have, you won't fall apart. They want to know that you're strong enough to walk away if you're not being treated right. That's what makes them feel secure. That's what makes them want to stay. So if you're tired of feeling powerless, if you're tired of being the nice guy who always finishes last, if you're tired of living in fear, it's time to change. It's time to speak the truth. It's time to say the words she fears, not to hurt her, but to save yourself, not to destroy the relationship, but to rebuild it on a foundation of respect, not to win, but to be free. Let's get even more real for a second. There's a reason these words hit so hard, and it's not just about ego or pride. It's about security. Every woman, deep down, wants to feel safe with the man she's with, not just physically, but emotionally. She wants to know that if the world falls apart, you'll still be standing. That if she loses her mind, you'll keep yours. That if she pushes every button you have, you won't fall to pieces. And the only way she can ever know that is if you show her you're not afraid to lose her, that you're not afraid to be alone, that you're not afraid to speak the truth, even if it means she walks away. This is where most guys get it twisted. They think being a good partner means being agreeable, being soft, being endlessly patient. They think if they just love her enough, she'll stop testing them. But that's not how it works. The more you give, the more she takes. The more you bend, the more she pushes. Not because she's evil, Not because she's trying to hurt you, but because she needs to know where the line is. She needs to know you have a backbone. She needs to know you're not just another guy who'll do anything to keep her. And when you finally draw that line, when you finally say, enough, everything changes. She might get angry. She might cry. She might even threaten to leave. But underneath all that, there's relief. There's respect. There's a sense of safety she's been craving but couldn't find, because now she knows if you can stand up to her, you can stand up to anything. Let's talk about another phrase that shakes the ground. I'm not afraid of losing you. You don't say it to be cruel. You don't say it to hurt her. You say it because it's true, because you've reached a point where your self-respect matters more than her approval, where your peace matters more than her validation, where your happiness isn't tied to her mood swings or her affection. And when you say it, when you really mean it, you'll see something shift in her eyes. Maybe it's fear, maybe it's respect, maybe it's both, but it's real and it's powerful. I've seen this play out in real life more times than I can count. A woman will push and push, testing to see if you'll ever push back. Most guys never do. They just take it, hoping it'll stop, but it never does. It only gets worse until one day he finally snaps. He finally says, I'm done. And suddenly, she's the one chasing. She's the one apologizing. She's the one trying to fix things. Because for the first time, she realizes she could actually lose you. And that's the only thing that ever really gets her attention. But here's the catch. You can't fake it. You can't just say the words and hope for the best. You have to mean it. You have to be willing to walk away if things don't change. You have to be willing to lose her if it means keeping yourself. And that's the hardest part, because most guys are so afraid of being alone, so afraid of starting over, so afraid of losing what little they have, that they'll put up with anything just to avoid it. But that's not strength. That's not love. That's fear. And fear is never attractive. So how do you get there? How do you become the man who can say these words and mean them? It starts with knowing who you are, with having a life outside of her, with having friends, hobbies, passions, goals, with being someone you're proud of, whether she's in your life or not. Because the truth is, the less you need her, the more she needs you. The less you chase, the more she pursues. The less you care about her approval, the more she craves yours. And that's not a game. That's not manipulation. That's just reality. We all want what we can't have. We all respect what doesn't need us. We all chase what's just out of reach. And when you become that man, when you become the prize, everything changes. Let's get even more real. There's another phrase that women fear, maybe more than any other. I'm happier without you. Not as a weapon, not as a way to hurt her, but as a simple truth. Because if you can look her in the eye and say, I'm better off on my own, you've just taken away all her power. You've just shown her that she's not the center of your universe, that your life doesn't revolve around her, that you're not afraid to walk away from anything that doesn't serve you. And that's terrifying, not because she wants to control you, but because she wants to know you can't be controlled. She wants to know you're strong enough to leave if you're not being treated right. She wants to know you have standards, boundaries, limits, because if you don't, she'll never feel safe. She'll never feel secure. She'll never feel like she's with a real man. I know this sounds harsh. I know it sounds cold, but it's the truth. The only way to have a healthy, passionate, lasting relationship is to be willing to lose it, to be willing to walk away if it stops being good for you, to be willing to say the words she fears, even if it means she leaves, because the alternative is worse. The alternative is living a life where you're always walking on eggshells, always apologizing, always shrinking yourself to fit her expectations. And that's not love, that's prison. So if you're tired of feeling powerless, if you're tired of being the nice guy who always finishes last, if you're tired of living in fear, it's time to change. It's time to speak the truth. It's time to say the words she fears. Not to hurt her, but to save yourself. Not to destroy the relationship, but to rebuild it on a foundation of respect. Not to win, but to be free. Let's bring this all together. When you finally start living this way, when you stop being afraid of her reaction, when you stop holding back the truth just to keep things comfortable, when you finally say the words, every woman fears, but every man needs to say at least once in his life, everything changes, not just in your relationship, but in your entire life. At first, it's going to feel strange. You'll probably second guess yourself. You'll wonder if you're being too harsh, too cold, too honest. You might even feel guilty, especially if you're used to being the guy who always tries to make everyone happy. But here's the thing. You can't make someone respect you by sacrificing your own self-respect. You can't make someone love you by pretending to be someone you're not. And you definitely can't build a real relationship on a foundation of fear and silence. The first time you say, I'm not afraid to lose you, you'll feel a weight lift off your shoulders. The first time you say, I'm happier without this drama, you'll realize how much energy you've been wasting trying to keep the peace. The first time you say, if you want to leave, go ahead, you'll see her look at you differently, not with anger, but with a kind of shocked respect, because now, for the first time, she knows you're not playing. You're not bluffing. You're not just saying what you think she wants to hear. You're telling the truth. And that's what changes everything, because the truth is magnetic. The truth is powerful. The truth is what every woman is secretly hoping to find in a man. Even if she fights you every step of the way, she wants to know you can handle her at her worst. She wants to know you won't crumble when things get tough. She wants to know you're not just another guy who'll do anything to keep her, no matter how badly she treats you. But here's the twist. When you finally become that man, you'll notice something else. You'll start attracting different kinds of women. Women who respect boundaries. Women who don't play games. Women who want a partner, not a project. And the women who can't handle it, they'll disappear. And you'll be glad they did, because you'll realize you were never really happy with them anyway. You were just afraid to be alone. So, what's the takeaway? It's simple. The words every woman fears aren't weapons. They're not meant to hurt. They're meant to set you free. They're meant to remind you who you are. They're meant to break the cycle of fear and manipulation that ruins so many relationships. And if you use them honestly, if you use them with respect for yourself and for her, you'll find that everything changes. Maybe she'll leave, maybe she'll stay, but either way, you'll finally be living your truth. And that's the only way to win. Not by controlling her, not by outsmarting her, not by playing games, but by being the man who isn't afraid to lose, the man who isn't afraid to speak the truth, the man who knows his worth, with or without her. So next time you feel that old fear creeping in, next time you catch yourself biting your tongue just to keep the peace, remember this. The only thing worse than losing her is losing yourself. And the only way to keep her respect is to never lose your own. Say the words, mean them, and watch what happens.